line with me, I got Dan Dilman, who was on the hit show, the History Channel, Lost Gold of the Aztecs. So what I'm excited about was, Dan, I met you a long time ago, and I knew, man, you had one heck of a fascinating story with you and your family. But, we're having our Moon Lake Gathering coming up August 23rd and 24th of 2024. If you're seeing this after 2024 August, man, you missed a great show. So Dan's agreed to come out and talk to us, and I want all you guys to meet Dan, to get to know him, learn his research, his history, his adventures, But more than that, Dan, I mean, that's important that these guys meet you. But also, Dan, I want you to meet these guys, because these guys are a lot of smart guys. They're a lot of researchers, explorers, just like yourself, and there's going to be a lot of knowledge there. But with that, Dan, take it away. Just kind of tell us a little bit about how you got involved in your adventures, and a little bit about you, because there's more to you than what I even thought.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I'm honored and excited to be meeting with you and everyone else that's showing up to this Moon Lake Gathering. Yeah. And, I'm sure there's going to be a whole lot of people there smarter than me. I've heard someone tell me that before. And that's the case. So I'm excited to hear and learn from some of the guys that'll be there. It's really in this arena of what we do, it's really a group effort, So it's always great to trade, information, data, research with others, and I'm excited about doing that. In fact, I will be sharing some important information that I believe nobody has ever heard before. This is information that really, I think, blows the lid off of some of the naysayers when it comes to Montezuma, Quetzalcoatl, and the Aztec treasure. So I'm excited about these things that I'm going to share. I want to be touching on so many different subjects because, like you said, I'm not a one-trick pony. I'm not stuck in a box of just, my family treasure adventure, which is an amazing thing. Don't get me wrong, but I'm bringing my UFO, hat, so to speak, bringing my night vision goggles so that we can share that when we're out there at night. I'm bringing some of the other tech and tools that I use when we're out in the field, and so I'm excited to share these things with people. As you know, I'm a third generation treasure hunter, researcher, mystic. And, I even call myself an ancient mystery theorist because there's so many mysteries that this world has that we don't have answers to, the general public doesn't have answers to. And, a lot of it is food. We're talking pyramids. I'll be discussing some of the mysteries of the pyramids, not just in Egypt, but across the globe and their connection and what that means. We'll be talking about giants. See, what a lot of people don't know is that we have discovered giant skeletons. We have actually not talked about it, not heard about it from some third party, but we, the Dilman family, have in fact unearthed giant skeletons. Now, we didn't take those bones. We have photographs of those bones. We have photographs of those skeletons, but we never removed them from their place because that wouldn't be right.
So I am glad you're going to bring that up, because that's something that's always interested me. And I think I know, I guess I'll have to wait and see your presentation, but I think I know the area, what you're talking about, where you're talking about. And I think I've seen photos of it. Man, these guys are in for a treat then. So that's awesome.
Yes. And I'm hoping to be able to bring with me one of the ancient artifacts that we recovered from the 82 site. If I bring this with me, if I'm able to bring this artifact with me, I think everyone will be shocked and amazed. And then when I share with them whose object we believe it is, what its symbol represents is also, I believe, something that everyone who's in this lane, who has an understanding of Quetzalcoatl, Montezuma, the Aztecs coming up north, originating from up north, descending to the south, then coming back. And what many people may not know as well, Terry, and this is something that I am excited to share, Montezuma's tomb. And Montezuma's tomb and its connection to Atlantis and the lost records of Atlantis. The records of the Aztecs are, in fact, the records of Atlantis. Where did their
Really?
technology come from? Where do they say they came from? And so I'm looking forward to sharing a real precise, direct, connecting the dots and sharing with people the information that, in my opinion, proves without a doubt that Montezuma's tomb not only holds valuable riches, gold, silver, jewelry, stuff of this nature, but the greatest treasure are these ancient records and technology.
Man, I can't wait to hear that. And you know, you bring up some good points. You know, to think that the Aztecs, the Mayans, and that were just a stupid bunch of stupid natives, and then you go down there and see the pyramids that were built, the monuments, the stelas, the intricate carvings that they did, and how did they do them? And they had to have some kind of tools. They wasn't just, you know, I don't know what I want to say here, but man, if you go down there and see
No,
that,
no,
it's fascinating.
I'm with you. The ignorance is anyone who says they were non-intelligent savages, because their mathematics were superior to ours. Their knowledge of the stars, without telescopes, without the technology that we have today, is proof that they were actually operating at a higher level of consciousness than most of us were or are today. Their water filtration systems are just being discovered. The Maya, the Inca, the Aztec, they're just discovering this stuff today, that their water filtration systems are superior to our greatest technology that we have today, or now we're just getting on par with. So these facts, once again, not myths, not legends, these facts are proof that these tribes, these cultures, these people were highly advanced spiritual, scientific, and cultural people. And yeah, man, I'm excited to share some of those things. I'm excited to share the connection between Chaco Canyon and Montezuma's Castle and Montezuma's Canyon. Get ready to hear some more about that stuff too.
Cool, man. So I don't want you to tell everything about Montezuma's treasure and everything, man. I want the people to come and see and meet you in person, because you know you're a great guy to get to know. But you know, so I don't want to ask you a bunch of questions that I'm just dying to ask you right now about that. I'm gonna cut that out. I'm not gonna ask them. But you know, I didn't know this until just, you know, here 6-8 months ago, man, that you were into the UFO stuff. You were into that type of stuff. So tell me a little bit about Dan Dilman and how you got into that, and what do you think about that? That's something that we're going to be covering in at the gathering. You know, we got the owner of the ranch, Space Wolf Ranch, who owns the ranch right next door to Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, the fence lines butt right together. And hopefully we're going to go out there and do a little investigation, Dan, me and you. So anyway, so tell me, how'd you get into that, and talk a little bit about that?
You know, once again, you know, this really originates from my grandfather and uncles. You know, most people have only heard about our treasure adventures, but what they don't know is that we are experiencers. What does that mean? Once again, that means that we're not just telling you stories or sharing stories from someone that we met who said they had an experience. We have had unexplainable phenomena happening to us our entire time. We've had UFOs, orbs of light. These things are real. We've experienced them. They were before, you know, the mainstream media started talking about them. We held this quite close to our chest as well. Even, you know, my grandfather, if I showed you some of his writings, when he starts talking about the you know, the star people and their relationship to the Aztec, Mayan, Inca, and where they came from, Easter Island. I mean, I could just start talking about so many things and their connections, that these UFO phenomena and paranormal phenomena we've been experiencing our entire lives. My first UFO experience was in southern Utah. is when I was probably about 8 years old on one of my first adventures with my uncles and grandfather. And I'm not going to share you the details. I'm just going to tell you that. And we've also had Bigfoot experiences. And
Really?
I don't want to get into it because this is you've got to come to the gathering to hear the in-depth details about this true, real experiences that I have had and that my family's had that will blow your mind. And it's just most people, who not the people coming to the gathering, because the people coming to the gathering, they're in the know, right? They're in the know. They may not have had all of these individual experiences, but they're in the know. But a lot of the world will discredit us, say, "Oh, Bigfoot's not real." Now, my idea of Bigfoot and giants, I'll just give you a little tip. Bigfoot and giants, there's a connection there.
Mm.
Uh, Sacred sites, there's a connection there. So I'm excited to share these stories because we haven't shared them before. And once again, my grandfather was ahead of his time. He was an ancient alien theorist and researcher before the word was ever coined. Even before Eric von Daniken came out with his Treasures of the Gods, or whatever his book was. And God bless all those guys, by the way. They're very cool dudes. And I've met and powwowed with them as well. So I'm excited to share all of these things with all of the folks that come to the gathering. And it's going to be, I believe it's going to be a mind expanding experience that you really don't want to miss.
Man, I'm agreeing with you. Speaking of your grandfather, and I didn't know this till I met you down in Kanab, when we talked about this a little bit, when we did that live video, which I'm terrible at live streams. But anyways, I knew that your grandfather was legally blind, but you touched on some things that I didn't really understand. And when you talked about it, it made perfect sense, that your grandfather was legally blind. He met your grandmother at the school for the blind. And
Yes.
but what you touched on, what made perfect sense to me, is when you lose one sense, you gain others, you know?
Right, right. And these are latent powers that every one of us has. And not to cross into, too much, I'll use the word religion, but really I call it spiritualism. Even Christ, when Christ told us that you can do all the things that I have done and more. He was not a liar. He was the truth teller of all truth tellers. And so these latent powers exist. So for some who aren't connecting with these powers that we possess to activate, when we lose a sense, when someone loses their sight, then their hearing can be enhanced, or their extrasensory perceptions can be enhanced. And that's really what it was with my grandfather and my grandmother. Their abilities, and I'm sure if you talk to anyone who has blind parents or a blind relative, they'll probably give you some incredible stories that are basically unexplainable without it being some latent superpower that they have tapped into.
So also, you was telling me that I didn't know this, that your grandfather was involved in more treasure hunting than just, searching for Montezuma's treasure, and I'm man, I'm dying to ask you Montezuma's questions, but I'm not going to, so I got to go other places. So he was involved in other, and you was telling me one of the other ones was that guy in Arizona that found a treasure. You know what I'm
Ron.
about?
I forget,
Ron.
I forget Ron's last name at this time, but my grandfather was helping Ron and his teammates, and in fact helped to give them, the solutions to uncovering and bringing up the gold bars that they discovered. The Tamakakori mine, the fabled mine of Tamakakori. My grandfather was heavily involved with that. And we have maps, exclusive maps. There is so many locations and so much data that we have in our possession that it's going to be impossible for me to go to every one of them and try to unearth or discover these. that's why I also feel it's time that, that I start sharing some of these things, finding some pure-hearted people who aren't looking to be selfishly enriched, but who are looking to unveil and unearth these treasures for the greater good. That's the kind of people that I want to potentially partner with in the future. In the meantime, it's my kids, of course, are
Oh yeah.
joining the family business, so to speak. But yeah, I'm excited to share these things. My grandfather, was a special guy, a special dude, and I'm really, really blessed at the things that he shared with me as a child, because as a child, I was so impressionable and was able to absorb and believe in things that were impossible, and realizing that the impossible is possible. Nothing is beyond our reach. And there are invisible powers, invisible energies that we have access to. The first step is being aware that these powers do exist and that we have access to them. Then there are other levels to unfolding ourselves as human beings, to start to connect and reach into those powers. My grandfather and uncles, my grandfather and specifically my uncle Paul, had the gift of dowsing, could dowse. I have the gift of dowsing. One of my sons has the gift of dowsing, and so these powers that exist are even beyond technology. They transcend the physical. That's why we call it metaphysical. And so I'm excited to even share some of our techniques, some of the things that we use in doing that.
So one of the things we're having these breakout groups, and one of the things that they'll be teaching is people explaining dowsing and teaching how dowsing works. But then you are going to be sharing some of how you do the research, what equipment you use, what equipment you've had to develop yourself to kind of help you get along. You said you're going to be sharing that, man, and I'm excited about that. But,
Yeah.
but I want to go back to Ron, your grandfather helping Ron find that treasure. They found 80 pounds of gold bars. They were square gold bars, and
Yeah.
but it was laid out in a way that you could have got just the one bar and thought you got it all. But there was multiple treasure caches buried in that area, and I assume they did it so if they had to give one location up, whoever buried it, they would still have the others, or if somebody happened onto one, they'd still have the others. But you're saying it was your grandfather that figured it out, that there was more there, and there was a pattern to how these were buried.
Yeah, my grandfather was not boots on the ground in that, so I don't want to take credit away from Ron and the guys that were boots on the ground. But my grandfather was informing them and deciphering signs and symbols and giving them formulas for unearthing that treasure. And absolutely, it is 100% my opinion. And Ron still got some friends that are alive, that happened to know my grandfather was helping them, and I won't name some of the other really, really notable figures that my grandfather was helping. And listen, some of this stuff was unbeknownst to us, the family,
Really?
Uncles and us. Some of us, we didn't know. There's there's even I've received I've got tons of my grandfather's tapes, right? Hours and hours, hundreds of hours of research and information and stuff that the world will never hear because there's too much and it's not meant for everyone to hear. But I even received a tape from a man from Arizona that my grandpa from back in the 80s, late 70s and early 80s, also my grandfather communicating with them. And actually, this particular one was with Ron's associate as well, who was his partner, and audio tapes of my grandfather just sharing with them information, deciphering maps. There's one, tape that we didn't have possession of that got sent to me in regards to the Tamaka Quarry and some other stuff.
Really?
So we're like, dude, you know, Grandpa, you told us never to tell no one nothing, and this is all our stuff, and here you are helping some other guys, and which was cool because it's really my spirit too. So we get it. But you know, my Uncle John, who I loved him to death, but he was we always called him crazy John because you know he would tell people stuff on a regular basis, and anyway, funny things would happen. He'd invite some folks and crazy crap would happen all the time. Anyway, I'm talking too much about that. You can edit that.
So man, off camera, I wanna talk to you a little bit about that because man, it sounds like it's some people maybe I know that you're talking about, but I don't know that for a fact. So off camera, maybe we'll talk. But with that said, you know, and unless you've got anything else you want to add to this, man, I am excited for you to come and share your knowledge, your experience, and another thing you just said, your grandfather was great at interpreting Spanish symbols and stuff like that. And I'm sure, man, that knowledge got passed on to you, his research and all that. So you're probably great at that too. So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you asked earlier about the tools and technology, and I shared with you. I'll be bringing some night vision to share with you guys, some other tools, you know, that I use when I'm out in the field. But the greatest tool that we have is our mind,
mm,
and I will be sharing some techniques that definitely transcend the physical. We're talking metaphysical techniques that I will share with how I connect. We'll call it, you know, divine mind or the Akashic records. There are some who call it that, but there is information, all information that is available to us, and I will share some of those techniques because intuition and you know, spiritual insight is one of the most powerful tools that we can have access to. Now we need to have a balance and not allow our imagination to run
mhm.
off too far with us. Because these abilities are real, and anyone who puts in the practice can, in fact, start to utilize these special abilities that we have that really, I believe, are the most important tools, along with our physical tools as well. You know, we have our own government who has released, the CIA has released documents in regards to remote viewing, you know, that they had programs and that the programs were, you know, real, and remote viewing is real. We know, I don't need the government to tell me that that's real. But for those who may rely on certain sources, our government has admitted to psychic powers, remote viewing, UFOs. We even have these things. So I'm excited to share not only our personal experiences, but to help those, you know, who want to understand the deeper realities that we're dealing with here on planet Earth. And treasures and mysteries are all a part of our life experience. We're not meant to be behind a desk 24/7, working nonstop and allow our lives to pass us by without having some fun, some adventure, and some powwows. So
I
I'm
like the way you said that. I like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
man. So I'm excited to get with you. I'm excited to, you know, I'm a good listener, so I'll make sure I do some good talking, but I'll be sure to put on my listening hat. I'm excited to hear some stories from our guests who may be coming from across the country or across the world. We invite you as family members, you know, as team members, to come to the gathering and powwow with us and let us have an experience that can never ever be replaced, you know, by I don't even know what I was going to say.
I kind of know where you're going, you know,
Yeah.
because I feel the exact same way, you know. The a treasure to me, you know, there's all kinds of different treasures, and one of the greatest treasures to me is the people you get to meet, the stories you get to hear, the knowledge you get to learn from other people. And there is no better place than this event to come, because people have come from all across the country here, you know, and it's like-minded people, and there's no better place to network with other people and learn secrets, get to know have new friends, you know, from all across the country. And this year is going to be epic, and with you and a few other people, man, is going to help make this thing epic, because you guys have a lot of knowledge to share, some of the people that are coming to this. So with that said, Dan, man, I really appreciate you taking out of your time to come and help us out with this and share your knowledge with us. And any final words before I wrap this up?
Yeah, I just want to say that there will be some kind of cosmic event. There will be things happening in the sky. There will be things happening on the ground. Everywhere that we go, the Dillmans, when we're going on when we go on an adventure like the Moon Lake Gathering, something magical is going to happen. So get for some amazing, amazing experiences. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to seeing you again, and Mark and everyone else at the gathering. And it's going to be heavens of a time. So I'm excited. One of my main, little slogans I always say, until we meet again, somewhere deep within the cosmos.
Hey, I like that. And just a few little things, man. We got some of the Florida treasure hunters are coming to the Moon Lake Gathering. We got the Fisher metal detector company is coming to the Moon Lake Gathering. Man, we've got a lot of things planned, a lot of things happening. And so with that said, we'll see everybody August 23rd and 24th, 2024 at the Adamant City Park, man, right there, one of the gateways to the high Uintas, where a lot of strangeness has happened, where Spanish treasure stories are, where there's been UFO and Bigfoot sightings, where Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid used to roam. And we're not that far from Skinwalker Ranch, and we're not that far from Blind Frog Ranch, and there's a lot of things going on there. And with that said, Dan, that's a wrap, and I appreciate you, and we'll see everybody there.
Thanks, Terry. See you soon.